on Drampa. But it looks like Andrew is playing some sort of Gliscopod deck, potentially Gliscopod Zoroark, but Frank is going to go first, starting things off just with a Trubbish on the bench, Floatstone to his active Trubbish that he started with. We'll see what else he can do with this turn, what supporter he has to go with. Double colorless there onto Trubbish.
Yeah, I mean, Frank going all in with the Trubbish for later, trying to make sure that that's going to be one of his available Pokemon to deal the damage that he needs.
You know, and that play may not make that much sense, like, at first glance, but if you look at it and think about it, you know, next turn, if he evolves into Garbodor, if he attaches a Psychic Energy, he'll be able to use Acid Spray to do 70 damage, which could potentially knock out this active Wimpod on Andrew's side of the field.
Yeah, I mean, the 70 hitting Wimpod perfectly is just so convenient for Frank there. Looking over at Andrew's deck, you've got to assume that Wimpod in the starting position, you'd like to think it's Zoroark Golisopod. I'm going to go out on a limb there and say that's what we're going to be playing with. And that's an interesting one because obviously Zoroark losing its trade would be so detrimental.
Yes, these Garbodor decks are usually very good against Zoroark ability-reliant decks, but a lot of the time these Zoroark decks do play heavy field blower counts, so if we see some field blowers on Andrew's side, he'll be able to get those abilities back. Just a pass from Frank after that in. Gonna draw. Oh, actually, it looks like it is Golisopod Garbodor, so not the Zoroark deck we initially thought. This makes things a little more interesting. We do see a Trashlanch Garbodor in his hand. And
that's not what I was expecting on that one. It's been a deck that's been pretty much ignored for a while.
Yeah, we have not seen a lot from that deck. You know, it's been. I think there was a few that made top 8 at the Hartford Regional Championships at the very beginning of the season, but since then, I'm not sure that it's really had much success at the regional championship level. Andrew's going to get things started here with an Ultra Ball, debating what this second card is going to be. He has to discard. We already see a Max Potion hitting the discard pile. Not something you normally see in a Golisopod Garbodor deck, but Andrew really valuing that healing option that Max Potion can provide.
Yeah, a lot of people are usually playing, particularly with the Golisopod GX, Ace Rollers instead. Purely because if you've got another Wimpod on the bench, you can bring up the Golisopod and the energy, put it back down, you're ready to go again to start swinging for 120. So really smart if that's something you can get going in that turn.
Yeah, looking through Andrew's deck right there, it does indeed look like this is just going to be a Golisopod Garbodor deck. We did see some Rainbow Energies in there, so we know he has that option. So it's going to be kind of a more interesting matchup. Like we said, guys, a deck we have not seen that much of. Tapu Lele here from the Ultra Ball will most likely be getting that turn 1 Bridget. Actually eyeing up a Guzma. If he has a DCE in his hand, he could just knock out this Trubbish on turn 1 and take a quick prize right here on his very first turn.
Yeah, not only taking a quick prize, but getting rid of that double colorless energy be really nice. He is going to play the Guzma, so all he needs to do is make sure he can attach to attack. It's right on the front of his hand.
And there it goes, Energy Drive, 20 damage times the amount of energy attached to both active Pokemon. Trubbish with only 70 HP will go down to this 80 damage attack. And Frank just sends up his other Trubbish that was originally in the active with that Floatstone.
Yep, he's now going to find another basic. Got to get in there, otherwise it's, you know, not going to be long for him until this game moves on. Frank fanning through his hand. I see a couple of choice bands in there. Looks like he's just going to play the Bridget.
Yep, going to use that Bridget. This is, I think, where Drampa GX can be very good. Just discarding special energies on your opponent's side of the field. And at this point, Frank doesn't have knowledge of what Andrew's deck is. He's not sure. If I was Frank, I wouldn't necessarily be thinking that it was Gliscopod Garbodor, unless Frank has like gotten word from someone else throughout the day that, okay, this is what Andrew's playing. But looks like he is eyeing up that Drampa, and we might see a Righteous Edge discarding that DCE on Lele this turn.
Yeah, if he can get the energy together to do it, which shouldn't be a problem, then he's going to be able to start getting rid of the double colorless energies. And I think that's really important, purely because, you know, if you look at Frank's list, you have to... I was about to say puzzle the time, but immediately going for it. Actually finding one of those double colorless energies in the discard. So
getting back a Trubbish, very good. And looks like he is setting up for that Righteous Edge. No other cards he's going to play this turn, it looks like. And a solid 50 damage and discarding that double colorless energy, which is one of these really important resources in these decks like Golisopod that want to be using things like Armor Press and even Energy Drive, as we just saw.
Yep, looks like the Tapu Lele isn't going to want to stick around. The Floatstone being put into play immediately before the Sycamore from Andrew.
Ooh, I see a Buzzwole GX, so it looks like we've got a little bit more of a techie list here. Of course, with Rainbow Energies, he can use Jet Punch, you know, target down things like Zorua on Frank's side of the field. Looks like Andrew just wants to read Drampa real fast, make sure he's fully aware of, you know, how everything with this card works, and, you know, is just fully on the same page.
Yeah, it's got a... honestly, if we look at how much it's been played, particularly in Standard, Drampa took a real hard dive recently.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And while Andrew himself may be playing something, an archetype that's a little bit out there, obviously a little bit perturbed by what Frank's playing, I'm just thinking, maybe I just want to remind myself, what does Berserk do? What does Big Wheel do? Making sure you're not caught short by anything.
Yep, we do see the Rainbow Energy coming into play for Andrew. He can use First Impression with this Gliscopod, doing 120 damage to this Drampa, but that Drampa does have the energy it needs to just go ahead and Righteous Edge that card away this turn. So we'll see what Frank is going to do on this turn after Andrew gets this attack off.
Yeah, he's just going to go for it with the First Impression there, just able to deal 120 damage. The big thing here, though, is going to be that there's no real way for this Drampa to activate Berserk right now. And you say about the Buzzwole, you see that the Buzzwole's in there, but as long as the Buzzwole doesn't come into play and start jet punching, that Berserk isn't active right now.
Yeah, Berserk won't be doing a lot of damage yet. He needs, a few turns with attachments of Rainbow Energy and enough attachments to the Drampa itself. But he does get that Trash Lance Garbodor in play. I don't think Andrew's played too many items yet, but that is definitely something Andrew's going to be mindful of throughout the course of this game. How many items am I playing? Am I able to play around Trash Lance effectively? And we just see an end come out from Frank.
Yeah, well, at least it's an end before a potential big wheel.
Yeah,
don't want to see it afterwards, as we mentioned in the last game. But I mean, once you see those Trash Lance Garbodor, once you confirm that they're there, life becomes, I don't want to say easier for you, but at least you're playing an informed game, and you know that you just have to be a little bit cautious. You can't be so liberal. Maybe when you Sycamore, you think twice if you're about to Sycamore away 4 items and subsequently 80 damage.
Absolutely. So we'll see off of Frank's 6 cards here, what is he able to do? Can he get some Zoroark GXs in play? Can he get that the Garbotoxin Garbodor and ability lock Andrew on his turn? Doesn't look like I see a Zoroark in his hand. He does have an Ultra Ball, though, if he wants to go find one.
Yeah, that's probably one of his ways out of this. Start Ultra Balling. So he's having a look in the discard. Make sure he's not wasting resources that have been already used, the 2 obs, the 3 obs.
I think it looks like he got rid of a Guzma and a Rescue Stretcher.
Yeah,
2 pretty important resources, but, just valuing the other cards in his hand more. And he will have to discard 1 more card from his hand if he wants to trade this turn.
Yep, he can get the Zoroark, he can then start trading. Maybe if he's lucky, trade into another Zoroark, and then trade again, and then pull off the Garbotoxin Garbodor.
It just seems like these Zoroarks love to find each other once you start trading, right? It's like they want to be in play together.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure if you trade, you're guaranteed either a Zoroark or a double puzzle.
Yeah.
I think those are your only options. Particularly when you need double puzzle.
Oh, yeah.
You have to...
Only when you need it, right?
Yeah, big game, need double puzzle, trade, there they are.
And let's see, did he find another Zoroark?
It doesn't look like it.
Maybe not this time, guys.
Yeah, that's one of those letdowns for us. It does get a Tapu Lele, though, so able to grab a supporter for next turn, may be able to help out with his pretty thin hand that he's got going on there.
Yep, and smart to go ahead and play this Tapu Lele. He sees the Trubbish over on Andrew's bench, maybe thinking this could be, he could be ability locking me on the next turn, and I want to make sure I have a draw supporter option in my hand. I won't be able to Tapu Lele next turn, potentially, so let me go ahead and play it now. Get a Professor Sycamore, so I can guarantee myself at least 7 cards.
Yeah, you've got to make sure you have an option for when this Garbotoxin comes into play, or else Tapu Lele really becomes like a essentially pretty much dead card. We're going to see that Rainbow Energy discarded again by the Righteous Edge.
Yep.
So Andrew's going to have to find another one to keep on hitting.
Actually, an interesting card there on the top for Andrew. He is playing Heavy Ball. That is something he could use to find a Pokemon with a 3 or more retreat cost. Could find either of his Garbodors if he wants them. Could also get another Wimpod in play, since Wimpod itself does have 3 retreat. And as you see on the screen, Gliscopod itself as well has 3.
Yeah, I mean, if your deck's all about those heavy Pokemon, why not? It's an easier way to search than Ultra Ball. It doesn't cost you the 2 cards either. So, you can't get anything with it, but you can get most of what you need in the deck.
Yeah. And even though First Impression only does its maximum damage whenever Gliscopod becomes active that turn, if Andrew does have a Choice Band, as we just saw in his hand, and if he can find a Grass Energy, he actually can still do 60 damage and knock out this Drampa that already has 120 on it.
Yeah, I mean, you only need to have a base damage of 30 to get there.
Yep.
So it looks like he's just going to be kind of prepping his bench. Do need to see the energy, though. We haven't seen that just yet.
Yeah, we'll see what he gets here with this Heavy Ball to start this turn off. Looks like he's eyeing up that Garbotoxin Garbodor. Trying to just figure out what does he need and what can he get in play. Ooh, maybe deciding on a Wimpod instead. Just valuing having those 1 energy attackers in play, getting his basics for his evolutions of his main attackers out.
Yep, there's the Tapu Lele, so time to see what supporter he needs at this juncture.
Yeah, I think he may just really need to dig this turn and might find himself a Professor Sycamore. If he really values the other cards in his hand, though, I could definitely see something like a Cynthia or an N even coming out. It looks like it will be that Professor Sycamore. You know, sometimes it is painful to discard some of the cards in your hand, but you just want to draw that extra card, get rid of these other cards that aren't the cards you need, and give yourself the highest chance of getting what you want that turn.
Yeah, sometimes 7 really is better than 6 in the Cynthia's case. I'm sure he's got a couple more things in his hands he can play down. We did see the Choice Band as well, so it wouldn't shock me to see that one get put down, just so you're not Sycamoring away too much, and then if you find the energy, you're able to capitalize off it immediately. So Choice Band on the front of the hand, going on to the active for Lysopod GX.
Gonna need that Grass Energy or a Rainbow here to pick up this KO. Let's see what he can find off of these 7 cards. Does he hit the energy? And this will give him a big lead if he can hit it, going down to just 3 prize cards. Holding his hand straight up. We can't quite see it yet. There's a Sycamore Ultra Ball.
Looking bleak in there.
There's the Rainbow Energy. He can get the KO this turn if he wants. He does have a double colorless as well, so he has other options potentially. But Rainbow Energy going to be the choice for Andrew. Going to place 1 more damage counter due to that Rainbow Energy's effect. And first impression for 60, not what you usually want to be doing, but it works out in this case.
Yeah, in this case, it's way more than enough to get him over that hill. And, you know, one of the only things with energy on, literally the only thing with energy on Frank's side of the field, has been removed from play. So that's a big help. It's not quite as smooth as Righteous Edging, but you also get 2 prizes for it, so why not at this juncture?
Yep, with that Gliscopod having 140 HP remaining, if there are 6 or more items in Andrew's discard pile, if Frank can find a Psychic Energy, he'll be able to take the KO on Gliscopod with a Trash Launch. Andrew hasn't played too many items from hand, but he has Sycamored a couple times. Ooh, and there's 2 more going to the discard pile right now from Frank's Field Blower.
Yep, those could be the difference. When you come to kind of counting those numbers, sometimes you fall short. If you're consistently field blowing off 2 items, adding 40 damage to your potential output, you'll be in fine shape to take those knockouts.
Yep, so looking at Frank's hand, I actually don't think I even see an energy card yet. He does have Zoroark GX in play. Andrew did not get that Garbotox Garbodor out. Looks like Frank is going to use his very first trade. He did have an Ultra Ball in his hand, so he could find another one if he needs it this turn.
I mean, it's even easier. After you've traded, if neither of the things are things you really want, it makes your Ultra Ball decision-making a little bit easier.
Oh, yeah.
Looks like Ultra Ball played immediately, and I think one of the other Ultra Balls was used for it.
Yep, and he will just grab another Zoroark GX with this, and he'll be able to trade once more, discarding a card from his hand and getting 2 more off the top. Going to be looking for a Psychic Energy here, I think, to take the knockout. If he finds a Choice Band and a double colors, he could actually ride his beating for the knockout as well with the Zoroark GX. So he has options. That one just means he needs a couple more cards.
Yeah, either way around, you want to be taking the knockout on the Gliscopod this turn. But you've got to really pull through with your trades. There's the evolution, as expected. Quick decision-making process. What do I trade away? Good players will make sure that, you know, there's always assets available. They don't just burn through them all ruthlessly.
Yeah, I think
with
that
those
was
trades.
a Guzma hitting the discard pile. Important resource, but Frank does play Puzzle of Times, so he'll have the option to get that back later on if he needs to. Kind of figuring out what he needs to do with his hand. If he didn't get an energy card, and I'm not sure that he did, he'll be in a sticky spot. He may just end up having to pass, leaving this Trubbish active and giving Andrew just another turn to get himself his setup rolling. Double Puzzle actually does find him the double colors he needs, but does he have the Choice Band to take the knockout with Zoroark GX?
Well, there's the double colorless, so he's still mulling this one over. Probably not so confident in it with the lack of the Choice Band. Actually going to play it on the Tapu Lele, start dealing damage that way.
And this is interesting to me because, you know, Gliscopod's GX attack, Crossing Cut GX, if Andrew can find a double colorless and a Choice Band, would actually be able to knock out this Tapu Lele and move this heavily damaged Pokemon to the bench. So let's see if that is a combo Andrew can pull off here on his turn. Looks like Frank did go ahead and go for that Energy Drive. And if he finds the Choice Band, I do believe I just saw the DCE on the top there.
Right on the front of the hand for him.
So if he can find a Choice Band, he will be able to use that Crossing Cut GX attack and pick up a knockout and go down to just 1 prize card remaining. That's a really unfortunate whiff from Frank this last turn.
I mean, even without, you know, the crossing cut, getting the knockout, getting switched around, that board position change would be so vital. Forcing something like a, you know, basically forcing Frank to deal even more damage. And with Frank already looking at a full 6 prizes there, it's not the biggest and easiest task.
This is certainly looking bleak for Frank. He knows he's not quite out of it yet. These Garbotoxin decks typically do have a pretty strong comeback potential. But we'll just have to see what Andrew's going to get here. Looks like an Ultra Ball is eyeing up a Tapu Koko promo, maybe just wanting to thin that out of the deck. Also potentially getting that Garbotoxin Garbodor.
Yeah, I mean, there's going to be no more abilities for the rest of the game, I'm pretty sure. Both trainers having access to Garbotoxin. It's almost a little bit easier when your opponent sets it up for you. Then you don't have to worry about finding the float stone, finding the tool yourself. You just accept that the rest of the game is going to be pretty much without items, or without abilities, rather.
Yeah, I mean, Frank could be playing Field Blower in his list. A lot of Zoroark decks do. Most of the Zoroark Garbodor decks play at least a couple, so if he does, he can use that to get rid of those tools to potentially get some trades back. But if he does that, he'll definitely want to ability lock Andrew once again, taking away options like Tapu Lele GX.
Yeah, being able to just stop people from playing those big plays where you just find a Sycamore when you've got one card in hand, and it happens to be Tapu Lele. Really, really nice. And like you say, the prevalence of the Trashalanche Trubbish on Frank's side means the longer this games go on, the more damage it can do. It will be a big ask, especially if this Tapu Lele gets knocked out. But, you know, it can start picking up prizes on the Golysopods, on the Tapu Leles, quite comfortably as well.
There we go. There's a Sycamore for 7. I don't know that he found that Choice Band, though. The Choice Band would have let him get the knockout. I think he did, unfortunately, miss. Which is not what he wants to be doing
here. It's not
the
tool you're looking for, Andrew.
Ooh, Pal Pad, an interesting card we see on Andrew's side of the field. Something that got reprinted recently in the recent Ultra Prism expansion. Going to be putting back 2 supporter cards from Andrew's discard pile back into his deck to have access to later on.
Yeah, let me just tell you what a fantastic card I think Pal Pad is. I know a lot of people make jokes about it, but it's so much fun when you're like, ooh, my deck's a little thin on supporters, just shove 2 back in.
Yeah. Yeah, Pal Pad is definitely great, isn't it?
It's like 2 extra supporters for 1 card.
Absolutely.
You just have to go and find them out the deck. That's the problem.
So, unfortunately, after this whiff, Andrew may just go for an armor press here since he's not getting the KO, but maybe he does still go for the crossing cut, moving this moving this Golisopod to the bench to try to protect it. But no, it looks like he will just do the armor press here. Oh no, I'm sorry. He's going for Crossing Cut GX, and he is switching his damaged Golisopod back to the bench.
I mean, he wants to get it out of the way. He doesn't want to just lose it for free here. I do think he still has to be a little bit scared, though, of the prevalence of Trashalanche. While I talk about what a fan of Pal Pad I am, it's 20 extra damage on Trashalanche.
Yeah.
And, you know, it only takes you 9 to get to the Tapu Lele, even less when you've got that choice band in play. You're actually down to 7
Absolutely.
In that instance, and I'm pretty sure there's 7 with how confidently Frank is counting right now.
Yeah, there have been a lot of items played on Andrew's side of the field at this point. So we'll just have to see if Frank has the cards to pull it off. Does he find the Psychic or the Rainbow that he needs to take the knockout with Trashalanche Garbodor? And he would also be able to move this Lele to the bench. But no, actually going to get the Guzma off. And maybe just attack with this really damaged Tapu Lele GX.
Yeah, I mean, why not at this point? It's probably going to go down.
No, but it looks like he actually will just go for the Trashalanche here, which I think is totally, is a great call as well. It's a 1 prize attacker as opposed to 2, and Frank really needs to do a lot to get back into this game, and he does indeed get the knockout here with Trashalanche.
Yep, I mean, Andrew's still sat on those 3 prizes.
Yep.
And even if he starts going after something like the Trashalanche Garbodor, it's only giving him 1 at a time. He is going to fill his bench with the Tapu Koko.
And this is actually huge here. Flying Flip will be able to knock out the Tapu Lele on the bench that has 150 on it from that crossing cut. So Andrew will still get 2 prizes and go down to just 1 prize card remaining as opposed to Frank's 4.
Yeah, I mean, the big thing here is it's very easy to knock out the Tapu Koko in return, though. And then once you've got rid of that, again, your energy is immediately removed from play. That's so important to see that kind of gone. Especially because, yeah, first impression will be good, but, we've seen Andrew, we've not seen a grass energy yet. We've only seen the rainbows so far.
Yeah, maybe he is playing a much thinner energy count. Most of the time, I feel like these Golisopod Garbodor decks do play, a decent chunk of grass energies. It's just maybe so happens to be rainbows so far. But Andrew will have multiple options next turn to take this last prize. He can potentially attack with Trashalanche. He can attack with the Golisopod, and it's just going to be on to Frank. What can he do to come back from this 3 prize card deficit that he's facing down right now?
He's got to be so careful as well. I'm making sure that this Golisopod, I mean, pretty much Golisopod just needs to become active at one point to take a prize.
In is a good way to start, especially with that Garbotoxin Garbodor in play. Andrew's bench is full, and this one card from Andrew is going to be huge. What does he find on this one card from the end? And what can Frank do with his 4? And I think this is one of the reasons that a lot of players, you know, have kind of come off of this Golisopod Garbodor deck is late game ends can be detrimental to it if it does not draw what it needs. And that might be where that Pal Pad is coming into play from Andrew earlier on.
Yep, I mean, he pulls off the 1 card. Not looked at it yet.
No.
Let's just let that one sink in.
Not going to let us see any information. Going to just hang on to that. And we'll see what Frank does here with his Trashalanche. Looks like it will be a knockout. Takes a prize card. Andrew's going to send up a Garbodor. What is his 1 card?
Oh, well, I just drew something off the top.
Looks like there is an Ultra Ball in his hand and maybe a Heavy Ball. Yeah, it is a Heavy Ball. So
I mean, that's not too shabby.
This turn, though.
I mean, he can Heavy Ball something. Oh, he's having a shuffle through, seeing what energy's left, I think.
Just making sure he knows what counts, what he's going to have access to. He could grab a Buzzwole GX. He looks like he actually plays 2. We saw 1 hit the discard. I think I just saw another one in the deck. And maybe if he had a Guzma, he could knock out the Zorua in a couple turns. But at this point, he looks like he's just going to get that Garbodor with the Trashalanche attack with that 3 retreat cost, and maybe just hoping to find a Grass Energy a Grass Energy or a Rainbow would do it this turn.
Yeah, he's got to find a way to find the energies, though, because every turn he doesn't, that's just an opportunity for Frank to pick something off. Something as well that the Heavy Ball made that Trashalanche even more powerful.
1 more item in the discard pile. Trashalanche is definitely doing some heavy lifting at this point. Andrew's just going to check Frank's discard pile and figure out what resources does Frank still have available to him. What is he going to be doing to me on my next turn, and what can I do to prevent that? And the answer is not a lot, because he has 1 card in his hand, and it's a Ultra Ball.
Yeah, it's going to take at least 2 turns for that card to become good, assuming you don't play anything.
Yep.
And another thing, we look at it, you say the late game ends so bad. So many decks now have an engine to come back from those.
Yep.
The Octillery and the Buzzroll Regirock, the Zoroark and the Zoroark, and whatever you really takes your fancy.
Yeah. So many Zoroark decks.
Yeah, but, you know, this one, nothing.
Yep.
You know, you just have to hope that when you get into 1, your 1 is an absolute animal. Sycamore would be great, something like that, but not when you hit the Ultra Ball and the Heavy Ball.
Yep. Definitely not what he wanted to see off of that into 1. We're going to go over to Frank's turn. He does have a Field Blower in his hand, so he could activate Trade if he wanted to, discarding both Float Stones on both Garbotoxin Garbodors. We'll see if that's what he's eyeing up. It looks like it may be. Oh. Yes, it is. Going to discard both of those Float Stones.
Could just be trading to try and locate some Guzmas, maybe. Keep picking up those 2 prizes. Would be interesting to see if he goes for it.
Yeah, Frank looks like he's playing an Evo Soda to get started here. Might want to put another Zoroark GX in play.
Why not?
Why not? You know, get that extra trade. And just find yourself 6 cards this turn.
Yeah, he's played one of those turns where, you know, he's able to trade a lot. He's going to get to look at up to 6 new cards. He could just maximize his trades, get everything he needs to see out this game, and then set the lock again.
Yeah, it looks like he actually is going to fail that Evo Soda, so either he doesn't have any more Zoroark GXs in the deck, or just for some reason decided not to get them, but I'm going to assume it's because he doesn't have any more in the deck. Maybe there's 1 or 2 prized.
Yeah, that's something that he's got to be assuming at this point. But it is 1 less card in his hand, so there's the first trade of the turn.
See what he finds here, and I'm not sure what Frank really wants to do with this turn. He has a little bit of mobility since there is a Float Stone on that active Garbodor. I think we're probably at the point where this Garbodor might be just knocking out this Tapu Lele right away.
Yep.
So, you know, he'll take the 2 prizes here, but he wants to, you know, make sure Andrew can't get, you know, what he needs to get his last prize on his turn. So he's trying to find the way to make it most likely that that can't happen. Looks like he does get the Float Stone replacement. That is huge to make sure to shut off any abilities from Andrew.
Yep, re-establishing the lock, really important there. Little count of the cards, just so he knows what he's probably going to be drawing into.
Looks like he's debating playing a Cynthia here this turn. Looks like that will be what he decides to go for.
I mean, why not? You want to keep as many cards in the deck in case Andrew has a way to drag this game out.
Yep.
Doesn't look too likely, but you've got to make sure you've covered your posterior in all aspects, especially at this point in the tournament.
So 6 cards here from Frank. What does he find? I see a DCE, another Field Blower, another Floatstone. Not sure if any of that is what he wants. Looks like it's just going to be a Trash Lens for the knockout, and we'll see what Andrew gets here on his first card. It looks like it's just a Glissapod, and he is going to lose the game, does not get what he needs there on that turn. Frank would just easily win next turn with a Trash Lynch, and that is Frank Diaz winning the first game of this set.
Yeah, Frank was behind in the prizes for so long. We talked about it over and over again. Trash Lunch is going to be able to swing you this game. And once Trash Lunch is knocking out any GX of its choosing, you're really hard-pressed to keep up with that, especially the end to 1, bringing him down to absolutely nothing of use in his hand.
Yeah.
Just really forcing Andrew to hope, and that wasn't what he needed to do at all in that game.
Yeah, I mean, that end was brutal. It did not find anything for Andrew. No playable cards. He had the heavy ball, but that ended up not really making a difference, and it was just not what Andrew wanted to see for sure. So if I'm Andrew, I might try to play my game a little differently by, playing around the even prizes a little better, maybe trying to go to 2 prizes and take my last knockout with like a big crossing cut or a Trash Lanch to take those last 2 prizes, and just try to make sure that if I get end, I'm going to get at least a couple of cards. Getting end to 2 is infinitely better than getting end to just 1 card.
I'd say it's twice as good as getting end to 1.
Mathematically, that would be correct, does. So we'll see over
For
here.
For those of you at home, the look of disappointment on Chip's face.
The puns today, man.
That's not even a pun. That's just simple maths.
You are right about that. So it looks like Frank will take a mulligan here to start this second game. Andrew will get 1 additional card, as he was able to find a basic and Frank was not.
Yeah, I mean, if you're Andrew, you want those extra cards right now.
Absolutely, especially looking at his hand, it's a little awkward. I see a lot of Pokemon tools, Floatstones and Choice Bands, and a Glissapod, but his only supporter in hand is a Professor Sycamore.
Throw them all in.
No.
Trash Lunch won't hurt, I promise.
He's certainly wanting to hope to, maybe this mulligan can help him out finding that Bridget.
Yeah, I see a Choice Band.
Looks like Frank did find a basic. Andrew will get 1 extra card if he wants it. Looks like he will take it. Another Sycamore.
No. Sure. Oh, and then Lele start.
And a Rainbow Energy on the top deck. Oh, this is not a good-looking hand on Andrew's side of the field.
That's a Rescue Stretcher as well. Ooh.
So many important resources going to hit the discard pile here this turn. And you can just kind of tell Andrew's like, this hand is so awkward. What do I do with this? And he's just going to have to Sycamore, I think. I'm not sure what else he could do.
There it is. That's a large Sycamore from Andrew.
Important resources, but he can find, those basics he needs. Let's see if he can get a Wimpod. He at least has a Trubbish. I don't see a Wimpod, though.
See a Tapu Koko, the promo one, so that'll be able to help him out a little bit.
Flying Flip did a little work that last game, getting that prize on that Lele on the bench.
Really nice to be able to do that. When you realize that one comes together, you're like, oh, it's been sitting on minimal amounts.
Yep.
Yeah, I'll just take the knockout and spread a ton of damage around your board as well. So it's always nice.
Looks like we're kicking it over to Frank's turn. Field Blower going to come out, get rid of that Floatstone, take away a little bit of that Tapu Lele's mobility. We're going to see a Floatstone on Frank's own Trubbish in the active spot, and he's eyeing up a Professor Sycamore of his own this turn.
Yep, he's going to go for it. Both players forced to discard a lot of resources, including a Rainbow Energy.
Rainbow Energy, Evo Soda, Trashalanche, Garbodor, not things, and a Guzma, not things he wants to really be getting rid of on his first turn. But there's just such a high chance that he could potentially lose the game if he doesn't, so he doesn't want to, take that risk, and it just really wants to get set up.
Yeah, I mean, he needs to get set up at this point. Needs some way out of this predicament. Trubbish, such a big deal, as we see on the stream there. But he is going to go for the Drampa plays again. Why not?
Yeah.
Seems to be a big fan.
And if he has an energy in his hand, he can use Righteous Edge, discard this energy, and just take away some of Andrew's options, just kind of putting him back, 1 turn behind of where he was. It's almost like Frank went first, honestly. Besides the fact that Andrew could evolve this Trubbish, other than that, this turn didn't really do much for Andrew last turn.
Yeah, I mean, he's now lost his Rainbow Energy. It's pretty much back to where he started, apart from he's got a little bit of damage and some more Pokemon down.
Well, there comes the Bridget. 1 turn a little, behind where he would want it, but, better late than never when it comes to Bridget early on in the game. So
yeah, most people do enjoy the Bridget on turn 1. Turn 2 is probably acceptable. 3, I'd say it's a little bit far.
Yeah, at that point you might just be better playing something like a Sycamore to try to draw your basics naturally and other resources, because at that point you'll probably be kind of behind in whatever game that is. So it looks like he's just going to get the 2 Wimpods off of the Bridget, not getting a third. Oh, nope, still trying to figure out what the third Pokemon is he wants to get. And he does play Basic Grass, we just see one there. And yeah, looks like he's just going to get those 2. Frank's going to cut his deck, and Andrew's got a DC in his hand. He could go for that Energy Drive potentially. We'll see what cards Andrew gets here.
Whatever Andrew pulls off, he is going to be able to Energy Drive. That's big. Start swinging for 80 each way. But he is just going to lose it to Righteous Edge if he keeps on like that.
So he'll do a little bit of damage here. He doesn't have anything else in his hand he can play. I'm not even sure that he has a supporter for his next turn, unfortunately. So that's definitely unfortunate. Not something you ever want to see. But we'll, maybe he does have something and I just missed it. But over to Frank's turn, we'll see what he can make happen.
Yep, I mean, one option, just start Righteous Edging. Start getting all that special energy in the discard.
Yep.
There's plenty of it to pick at. There's Rainbow Energies and Double Colorless in here. So really, really nice to be able to get rid of those. And if you can force an energy drought, you'll be fine.
We see both of these players getting that turn 2 Bridget. Not what we're used to seeing, but turn 2 Bridget, like we said earlier, better than not at all. And he'll get out probably some Trebushes and Zaruas to get himself set up in this game.
Seems reasonable. Seems like a good, smart play on this one. We know Frank can capitalize on those trades a little later on, so would be big. But I don't think any real damage threat coming out this turn. I think both players kind of resigned to just set up play.
Yeah, this is definitely a lot slower of a setup play. Actually, Frank only getting 1 Zorua, not what I was expecting. Maybe he prized a couple, or maybe he's just really valuing this Trubbish. Maybe Andrew's already gone through a lot of items. He knows Trash Lynch is going to be really strong. But I definitely would not have expected him to get 2 Trubbish and just 1 Zorua there.
I think with how much work the Garbados did for him last game, seems like a decent investment. Get some more Trebushes down, have your pick of Trashalanch, or, then you've got Garbotoxin as well. But another Righteous Edge just to end up Frank's turn.
Yep.
Another Double Colorless Energy gone from Andrew's side of the field.
And over on Andrew's side, we do see Golisopod come into play, evolving his Wimpod. We see a Rainbow Choice Band, but I don't think there's anything else. Yeah, it looks like his hand is Rainbow Choice Band, Garbotoxin, Garbodor, and another Golisopod. Nothing workable in that hand, unfortunately, for Andrew.
No energy.
No, well, he has the rainbow, but I don't think he wants to attach that because that's just susceptible to a Guzma Righteous Edge play from Frank. And Andrew is just going to put the Choice Band on that Garbotoxin, Garbodor and really try to slow Frank's setup down.
I was mainly thinking that he didn't have the energy to get the Tapu Lele attack in. That was the big concern there.
Right.
He is going to have to sit there. Yeah, he's only going to be taking little amounts of chip damage, but, it's still not enough. The other good thing here, the Guzma grabs the Golisopod, meaning first impression isn't going to be as powerful.
Yep, this is a really smart play you see a lot of top players doing, just bringing this Golisopod into the active spot and forcing your opponent to use something like a Guzma plus an energy in order to get what they need done. And looks like Frank is going to capitalize on Andrew's slow start and bad hands by going for a Big Wheel GX, getting himself 10 cards.
Yeah, he's got to feel pretty safe in this instance that he's not going to get end. Based on the fact Andrew didn't really play anything out last turn.
Yeah.
Good inclination that it's not there, or the resources to get it on either, so he may actually be able to capitalize and enjoy his big wheel for once.
Absolutely. We'll see him get his 10 cards, and we'll kick it over to Andrew, see what he can get going, and see if he's able to draw something playable out of the top of his deck. I can't quite see what it is, but I think if it was a supporter, he would have played it down immediately.
Yeah, I mean, it would have had to. It
looks like it might be a Guzma.
Yeah,
so
it looks very
him,
Guzma-esque.
So he can attack with this Golisopod here this turn by retreating into his, bringing up his Tapu Koko from the Guzma and then just retreating back into the Golisopod. Trying to figure out what he wants to take out with this, and looks like it's just going to be a Zorua, actually.
Yeah, I mean, the Tapu Koko comes up, Tapu Koko goes back. And now the first impression is doing 120 damage.
Yep. So it looks like he did just get a Grass Energy out of his prizes. Not going to help bail him out of this, bad start situation. And Frank Has 10 cards in his hand.
Yeah, 11 now after he draws the beginning
Yep.
of the turn. Probably got some resources in there. I think that'd be a fair assumption to make.
Absolutely. Frank has lots of options in his hand, I'm sure. We'll see where he wants to take this turn. After a big wheel, a lot of the time, you can just kind of control where you want the game to go from at that point. If it sticks, you're going to have so many options. You'll be able to set your board up basically exactly how you want to.
Yeah, I mean, one of them being a Zoroark would be lovely there. It does look like he's going to fade. Oh, no, he takes the Trash Avalanche.
Yep.
So that one coming down. Probably got options in the hand that he's pretty okay with. There's the Zoroark, which is in that 10 or 11. Just deciding where to put the Trash Avalanche this time.
So we're going to see maybe how many items Andrew has played. You know, Andrew hasn't played a lot of items because he hasn't played a lot of cards this game. We saw that big Sycamore on the first turn with a few tools going down, but other than that, there may not be that many in Andrew's discard pile.
Yeah, Choice Band will help make up for some of those numbers, though.
Ooh.
Enhanced Hammer. You don't even need to Righteous Edge at this point.
Yes, that is a big play from Frank. Gonna make sure that the most damage this Golisopod can do to this active Garbodor is 30. And it looks like we do 120 damage there. Excuse me, 110 damage there. There was 10 on the Golisopod from the big max potion there. 10 on the Golisopod from the Rainbow Energy, but now all of that damage is gone.
Yeah, why talk about it when
Yep.
it just had max potion away? The big thing here, though, is now out of energy again.
Yep.
And all he's doing is just buying time for this Golisopod. Again, we do know that max potion adds 20.
Yep.
It's going to be going up to...
One more item in the discard pile.
Yep, that was pretty annoying for him there, I think. So it's 5 items in there now, I believe.
Yeah, I'm not quite... Yeah, based on that damage from the last turn, that would be correct. And looks like he is just going to hit for 130 here. And we see a Golisopod, we see a Grass Energy, and a Cynthia on the top deck. Andrew draws out of this dead hand, and we'll see what he can do to get a comeback. If he can find a Floatstone, he can get a knockout on this Garbodor here this turn. And Frank doesn't have an instant response to this Golisopod.
Yeah, he's going to need something to try and shut it down. Finding another one of those Trash Avalanche Garbodor would be lovely. Do you see the Heavy Ball on the front there? So to get another big Pokemon into play, it looks like Heavy Ball
Don't
supporter.
think I see that Floatstone, though.
No colors that look Floatstone-esque here.
I think we just saw Andrew pass, unfortunately, over to Frank's turn. He'll get 2 prizes by taking out this Golisopod. But this game is certainly not over. These are Frank's first 2 prizes, and while Andrew is behind... This Golisopod deck is so efficient on its energy attacks, on its energy requirements, with Garbodor only requiring 1, Golisopod only requiring 1. It's very easy for this game to, swing back into Andrew's favor. We do see a Guzma here, though, I think, from Frank.
Yeah, the
or
big
maybe
thing...
debating getting this. Oh, no, it looks like he's playing 2 puzzles at a time, gets a Guzma and a Trashlanche Garbodor.
Yeah, I mean, the big thing here for Frank is making sure that Golisopod, with the energy on, doesn't get in a position to actually activate its first impression. And he knows if he just knocks out the active Golisopod, then he's just going to promote Tapu Koko, use the free retreat and bring it up. So he's just as happy to, keep these things in the active. He's got Floatstones all over that he's then able to just capitalize on by Guzma something into the active and then switching it back with the Floatstone.
And I like this play here from Frank, actually attaching the DCE to this Garbodor. Gonna go for the Acid Spray. If he flips heads and removes this energy, there is not gonna be much Andrew can do on this turn. It falls off the table. Come on, let's see it. It is heads. There goes that Grass Energy. 100 damage because of the Choice Band. And once again, Andrew's just totally on the back foot. There's the Floatstone. It was the next card.
Ooh, I don't think there's been a single turn on Andrew's side of the field where the energy has actually stayed on for more than a turn.
I don't think there's been a single turn that Andrew has, gotten what he wanted with a turn. It's just not been good this second game here for Andrew. Things were going pretty good in that first game. The N ended up hurting him. But an Acerola there is a good start to mount a comeback. Yeah,
the Ace Roll is really good because he's able to make that Tapu Koko into the active, then swap it around with the first impression play. That's something he definitely needs.
Yep. And he does clear one of his damaged GX Pokemon off the board. Sure, this Golisopod in the active is really heavily damaged, will go down this coming turn, but he's able to take the first 2 prizes of the game. Man, it seems like this game's been going on so long for this to be the first 2 prizes.
Yeah, though it's really been, slow and steady for both these players.
Lots of back and forth from these players. Lots of setup, lots of methodical plays coming out. And we're going to see, I think, an N on Frank's side of the field. Andrew will just get 4, but Frank will still draw 6 cards.
Still sat on those full set of prizes. I mean, of those 6, he does need the energy. We'll be able to level up the prizes there and just, you know, get going with this Garbodor here.
Yep. And Frank is in a position where he'll be able to take the knockout with Zoroark GX. Andrew does not have a Trubbish on his bench, so he's not going to be able to pull off any sort of plays with Trashalanche on the next turn.
He's going to need a Field Blower, though, as well, because the Garbotoxin on Andrew's side is holding on to that choice band. So if he wants to trade, that's something he's going to have to be thoughtful of. That would be lovely for him right now to fill up his hand. But for now, like you said, he's just put his own Garbotoxin into play. Being able to just Riotous Beating will get you there anyway.
Looks like that is what he's going to do. Sending up that Zoroark GX should take the knockout here, doing 80 damage. Make that 100, putting Tapu Lele GX in play. And this
more than enough
is going to go down.
Yeah, I mean, even that Tapu Lele GX, based on the fact it was sat at 130, 80 would have got him there. But he just decides to get the Tapu Lele in play and out of his hand as well.
Yeah, if Andrew plays his own in, he definitely does not want to, you know, deal with that. Having that Lele where he's not going to be able to use it to get a supporter, since there are 2 Garbotoxins in play at this point.
There's no way Garbotoxin's going away for the rest of this game.
Well, I mean, we could see Frank do that play once again that he did in the first game where he Field Blowers twice on each Garbodor to use his trades and then gets a replacement Flowstone once again.
Yeah. I really don't think he needs to at this juncture.
Oh, yeah.
He's got a lot of stuff set up.
Yep.
2 Zoroark ready to Riotous Beating over and over again. The thing is, you know, this Tapu Koko is currently just fodder, realistically. Yes, it's come up into the active. Yeah, you could put a DCE on it and Flying Flip, then you're just going to lose it if you can find one more Pokemon for the Riotous Beating.
Yeah, and actually over on Andrew's side of the field, this Tapu Lele with 50 damage on it is huge. Zoroark GX can easily take a knockout on it with a full bench Riotous Beating attack, doing 120 damage, and I'm sure Frank is definitely looking to take that out in the future if he can. And we'll see Andrew here. What is he going to do? He's got a couple of Ultra Balls in his hand. Still needs to be mindful of Trashalanche. It's so awkward in these Trashalanche mirror matches because you want your opponent to play a lot of items, but you also just have to be so careful about how many items you're playing.
Well, there's a new card from Andrew's deck that we've not seen yet.
So lots of different Pokemon in Andrew's deck, very toolboxy. We see the Buzzwoles, and now we see a Mewtwo from Evolutions come into play. Not going to be a super effective attacker here since Zoroark does resist Psychic. Maybe just thinning that card out. He could do a decent chunk of damage to the Drampa potentially in the coming turns. But we'll just have to see what Andrew is able to do. I don't know that he has a double colorless, but there's really nothing he wants to attack.
You don't want to put it on the Tapu Koko because it just takes one more Pokemon and you're in trouble. Anywhere he puts it, based on Frank's track record in game 2, probably just going to lose it, to be honest.
He could put it on the Golisopod, but if Frank just gets off another Guzma play and goes for like a Righteous Edge, that's just going to be so bad for Andrew. So, I mean, I feel like you want to do something, you know, put some damage in play somewhere. So, the Flying Flip is what he's going to opt for here. You know, and he does put that Drampa up to 100, making it a little easier to knock out with like a Tapu Lele and a DCE. And we'll see what Frank is able to do on his turn. Can he find the Pokemon he needs to knock out this Tapu Koko, or does he get a Guzma and a Pokemon to knock out Tapu Lele GX?
Any Pokemon will do at this juncture. You just need enough to get that Riotous Beating over 100 to the 120 mark and knock out this 110 hit point Tapu Koko.
Looks like we'll see a Rainbow Energy to start things off. Does make that Garbodor take 10 damage, but at this point I think he will be able to, you know, be hitting for a lot of damage with Trashalanche. Andrew's played a lot of items. And we do see that other Pokemon, and looks like an N is played on Frank's side.
Yep, Tapu Lele isn't going to be getting him a supporter, but he had one in hand anyway, so it's not such a big deal. Now he's swinging for 120 with Riotous Beating. That's going to become a problem real quick.
Absolutely. And it'll just kind of be what resources does Frank have? Does he have a lot of Guzmas left? Is he able to just close this game out? And, you know, Andrew, there's not a lot of time left in this game.
No.
If Andrew does find a way to win this game, this will almost certainly end in a tie. And neither of these players, like, it doesn't hurt them that bad. They are both 6-0-1, but, you know, neither of them wants a tie.
No, nobody wants to be tying at this point. You want to make sure your tournament record is completely wrapped up with a 7 and something.
Yep.
So that would be much nicer for both of these players.
Looks like Andrew chooses to just send the Wimpod up. Has a DCE in his hand. Has a PAL pad in his hand. We can see that come into play once again. And if you guys heard that announcement, time was called for the other players, but these guys are on their own clock, so no time has been called yet. They do still have 5 minutes.
There's the PAL pad. Get those supporters back in.
Here comes PAL pad.
He's not been able to find them all game, so the ones he has found, why not put them back in? Cynthia and Ace Roller heading back into a pretty small deck.
Yeah,
so if he does have
thin.
a way to draw through it, he may be able to pick them up. Cynthia from the hand. Looks like he may be trying to find his way out for kind of the rest of this game.
Yeah, and there's really nothing great Andrew can do this turn. He could maybe bring up, like, it's tough. He could maybe get, like, a Floatstone and a Tapu Lele DCE and do a decent chunk of damage. But if he does that, Frank could find a Basic Energy and a Choice Band and take a knockout with Drampa's Berserk attack. There's just not a lot of good options. He does have that Buzzwole option. We have not seen one of those hit the field yet. Looks like it's just going to be a retreat into Golisopod. If he has a Rainbow or a Basic Grass, he can attack, but no, just a pass.
Does not look like he's got enough in the tank for this one. Looks like he's asking for a count of the items. Nice and public for us.
2, 3 right there. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 items in the discard pile.
As many as 9.
Yep.
So 180 base damage off your Trash Lunch.
Yep, so if Frank found a Field Blower, he could get rid of his Floatstone on his own Trash Lunch Garbodor, and then if he found a Choice Band, he could Trash Lunch and knock out this active Golisopod GX.
Yeah, I mean, that's one option. He could also just get rid of the Floatstone and the Choice Band. That's going to take him up to 11 and 220. So all he needs to do, get a Trash Lunch Garbodor in the active.
Yep, and he can just retreat his Zoroark if he wants to. Parallel City, not going to force Andrew to discard. He only has 3 Pokemon in play, but maybe limiting his options next turn. We're going to see another energy come onto the Drampa GX, trying to power up a potential Berserk in the following turns. And looks like we're going to see an N once again from Frank.
I mean, I don't want to say it's that risky, but giving Andrew more cards when you knew his hand was a bit of a dud anyway.
Yep.
Not something you always want to do, but he must feel so confident about his position in this game right now.
Yeah, I think Frank is in such a confident position here. He does have to lose the DCE by retreating, but he is taking the knockout with Trash Lunch thanks to Field Blower. And he'll be able to, you know, just put himself down to just 1 prize remaining. Andrew has 4, and Andrew is definitely in a tough spot.
It's not looking too pretty if you're in Andrew's shoes right now. There is only 1 prize remaining.
And he doesn't have a draw supporter. He doesn't have any energy. He's got a Guzma, 2 Guzmas, a Floatstone, and a Mewtwo. Gonna just retreat, send up the gonna just send up that Tapu Lele. Gonna Guzma Frank's own Tapu Lele. All Frank needs here is an energy card to retreat or a Guzma. He has the Floatstone, that does it as well.
Oh, and the double puzzle in hand.
So many options, and Frank gets the win that he needs. And he's gonna put himself at 7 wins at this point, and that puts him into the day 2 field.
That's exactly where you want to be. That was such an easy final turn there for Frank. And Andrew never really got going.